What's going on, guys? Sharpshot here. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. So today's video, I'm going to be giving my opinions and thoughts on where I think the new DBD meta is headed. If you guys don't already know, in the 6.1.0 mid-chapter update, DBD is reworking over 40 perks. And I made a video covering all of these perk reworks, so you can check it out in the link in the description or in the top right. But these 40 perk reworks are definitely going to shift the meta. And if you guys that don't know what a meta is, it's basically what the most popular thing in a game is. So for example, what the most used perks are, what the most popular perks are, those are going to change up after this update. And in this video, I'm first to be giving my thoughts on where I think the survivor meta is going, and then where the killer meta is going, and then my final thoughts on if this meta is going to be good or bad for the game. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. So starting with the survivor meta, in this new update, gens are going to take 10 seconds longer to do. So to start off, I definitely think we're going to be in a more intense gen rush meta where survivors are going to be focusing a lot more on gens and trying to bring perks into the trial that speed up gens to make up for the fact that it's an extra 10 seconds on each gen. With the introduction of a bunch of new endurance perks like Dead Hard, Off the Record, We're Gonna Live Forever, I definitely think that we're also now going to be in an endurance meta where the survivors are going to slap on as many endurance perks on their kit as they can and just try and take as many protection hits and endurance hits from the killer. So this might be good or bad for the survivors because yes, they can take more hits from the killer, but I feel like some survivors are definitely going to take advantage of this and go out of their way to get hit by the killer, which is definitely not going to be good for the survivors because they're going to be taking their focus away from the objectives and the gens. So we're gonna have to see how this endurance meta plays out, but I definitely think that's going to be another big meta. And then another meta I don't see a lot of people talking about is that there's going to be a new endgame meta with survivors, with perks like No One Left Behind and Hope getting really big buffs to not have a cooldown in endgame, and with nerfs to popular endgame perks like No-Ed on the killer side. The survivors definitely now have the advantage in the endgame where the killer used to have it, because now the killer is going to have to face camp defenseless without No-Ed, and it's going to be really difficult for the survivors to not get the endgame unhooks and get everybody out alive, especially with the new Off the Record as well. We're definitely going to see a lot more survivors actually going back in endgame to get those endgame unhooks. And one meta that I don't think we'll see as much of anymore is a stealth meta. A lot of the stealth perks like Self-Care, Spine Chill, Iron Will, those all got nerfed really badly, unnecessarily in my opinion, but I don't think that stealth is going to be as good as it used to be. And obviously we're going to still see some blood nets here and there, but overall I think you're going to be penalized for being stealthy a lot more than you used to. So just to wrap up the survivor meta, here are 12 perks that I think are going to be popular and meta on the survivor side. Moving on to the killer meta, to start off, killers got buffed by basically 10% to their action speeds. They break gens faster, they break pallets faster, their M1 cooldown is 10% faster. So this is going to lead to a lot more of an aggressive gen patrol playstyle because the killers are just that much faster. And going along with this, because the gens take 10 seconds longer to complete, you would think that there would be no more gen regression meta. Behavior thought this themselves as well, nerfing Ruin and nerfing Pop by a little bit as well. But I actually think because the survivors are going to be in a gen speed meta, I think this is going to force the killers to also be in a new gen regression meta. And this won't be the typical Undying Ruin meta or Pain Resonance Deadman switch because those combos are no longer useful, but it's going to be a new gen regression meta with a bunch of new perks that we haven't really seen get used before. And I also think we're going to be in a new Scorch Hook meta as well, with the introduction of a brand new Scorch Hook in Mantra Shrine, which I think is fantastic. We're going to see a lot more Scorch Hook perk combos, for example, maybe Pain Resonance and Mantra Shrine. And speaking of specific perk types, I don't think there's gonna be much of a Hex perk meta anymore. With Ruin getting heavily nerfed, that was probably the most popular Hex meta perk with Undying and Ruin, but obviously I still think we're going to be seeing Undying and Devour Hope. I think that's the last of the Hex meta that we're going to be seeing for a while. And with the introduction of BT base kit and a ton of new endurance perks on the survivor side, there's going to be no more tunneling playstyle. I know that just like the Blundettes on the survivor side, there still will be tunnelers on the killer side as well, but if they continue to tunnel like they have in the previous update, they're going to get penalized way harder for it because the survivors just have that much more on their kit in order to counter tunneling. So it's going to take you a lot longer to get one survivor tunneled and killed than it used to before. And speaking of this endurance meta, I think one perk we're going to see a huge resurgence of is going to be Mad Grit. For all the survivors trying to take those endurance protection hits while you're carrying a survivor to a hook, you'll be able to completely shred through those. So just to wrap up the killer meta, here are 12 perks I think are going to be popular and meta on the killer side. So now moving on to the big question, is this new DBD meta good or bad for the game? In my opinion, I'm leaning more towards yes, but I don't have a concrete yes or no answer because I think this is so up in the air. There's so many changes to this new meta that it's kind of difficult to grasp whether this is good or bad, because not only are there a ton of new reworks to perks and both the killer and the survivor kit, a lot of these new metas and new playstyles are going to be based on whether the other side is doing anything to counter it. So for example, if survivors don't go into a new gen speed meta with all of their new gen speed perks, killers might choose to not go into a gen patrol gen regression meta and might choose to go into a more aggressive aura reading playstyle, which I didn't mention in this video. So overall, there's a lot of things up in the air, and it's kind of up to both the survivors and the killers to define their own meta. Overall, I think it'll take about a month to find out if this new meta is good or bad. But if I were forced to give an answer, I'd have to say yes, I think this meta is going to be good because it is something new in DBD, which I think is pretty exciting, and everybody should be looking forward to trying out the new perks and changes. So yeah guys, that's been the new DBD meta. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this new meta and all of the new changes, on whether you think it's good or bad. So yeah guys, that's been the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you're new. This has been Sharpshot, and I will see you guys in the next video.